Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, Varun Mansali, welcome you in this session where we would be discussing the impact of abrogation of Article 370 and 35A in Jammu and Kashmir state. This is being broadcasted on our VR1 YouTube channel. This discussion has been organized by International Institute of J&K Studies and Analysis, that is ITSA, of which I am the co-convener. ITSA has been a pilot project started in Jammu with the aim to ensure that the correct version of voices of civil society are heard at national and international level. It is felt that since 1947 or even earlier, the happenings in Jammu and Kashmir state have been and are reported in a distorted manner, depending on the selfish motive of the individual or the organization or a political party concerned. So we are making an earnest effort to get the academic intelligence of Jammu and Kashmir state on one single platform and apprise the world about the true situation on ground and the real feelings of the masses in Jammu and Kashmir state. The general citizens and their voices are ignored by decision-making powers. Today, I have a galaxy of intellectuals from Jammu who would be analyzing the situation in Jammu Kashmir after de-operationalizing of Article 370 and 35A. We would discuss this evening that the de-operationalizing of Article 370 is a boom or a pain for the citizens of Jammu Kashmir who have been suffering from the dirge of your due to selfish motives of handful few and are condemned due to the misery. I now hand you over to Brigadier Dr. Vijay Sagar Dheman, Convener of International Institute of Jammu and Kashmir Studies and Analysis, who will introduce you to the chief guests, the panel, and our distinguished guests. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Varun. Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure and a matter of great honor for me to be in the presence of this distinguished intellectual from Jammu and host of other special guests from India and abroad. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the idea of ITSA, that is International Institute of Jammu and Kashmir Studies and Analysis, was conceived by me after my retirement from the army. Well, post-retirement, while I was the Vice Chancellor of a university, I was also in touch with your think tanks in Delhi and abroad. And one such organization even offered me a fellowship. And I was too happy to accept that. But I explained to the management that my research on Jammu and Kashmir and the allied matters must take place within the precincts of Jammu and Kashmir state. So that I'm in close touch with the events as they happen and not as reported by some motivated selfish segments, including that of media. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my efforts for 2 years did not bear fruits as it involved finances. And the managements were not ready for this kind of a venture to pay me some money to go and start my work in Jammu. And finally, one day on the advice of one of my counselors, our Revered Mr. Narendra Shishodia, who will be joining us very soon, and he's also an ex-Director General of IDSA, that is Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis. He advised me that I should not waste my time in this venture and must start something of my own. Well, I set out to configure a small research entity in Jammu, wherein today we are only 5 of us working on ground, and we have a patronage of about 35 intellectuals like you all who are keeping their hands on my head. So, well, most of the people are present over here also in this August gathering, who provided me with a lot of prudent advice, and I extend my heartfelt thanks to all of you. However, my work did not end here, and I guess God also wanted to test my resolve. Well, all preparations done by me had to be halted due to Corona outbreak. And now that the Corona restrictions have been partially eased out, so we decided at least we should go ahead with the webinars at least. We had plans to be offline, and same has been reflected in the approach paper which I have forwarded to all of you. And this is how the ITSA is shaping up bit by bit, but surely there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will now like to introduce you to our chief guest, Ambassador G. Partha, Well, I'm so grateful to you, sir, that you accepted my invitation, and I'm so happy and elated that you are on the panel with me here, sir.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, Ambassador doesn't need any introduction. He's an international thinker, a prudent analyst, and whole world knows about him. And we all are aware of his tremendous experience in the areas of diplomacy, and especially in case of South Asia, wherein that he was, I think, sir, you had 3 tenures in Pakistan, if I'm not wrong, sir, including the one of an High Commissioner. And today also, government, whenever they wants prudent advice on this area, this region, and I'm sure, I know that General Ambassador Partha Sarthi is always there. So thank you very much, sir, and warm welcome to the portals of IJSA.
Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, now we have a panel of speakers. First one in the line is Mr. K.V. JANDAIL. He is a career bureaucrat, having 40 years of experience in Jammu and Kashmir, all his life, and he knows the each nerve of how things work in Jammu. And today, we shall be honored to hear him for at least 10 to 15 minutes, which will be telling us what exactly is the situation after deoperationalization of Article 370 and 35. Similarly, we have another intellectual from Jammu, who's Mr. Ashok Bhan, Dr. Ashok Bhan, I'm sorry, sir. He is the ex-Director General of Police, and again, he is a very, very expert, and he knows every bit of the security scenario in the Jammu and Kashmir. Then we have Lieutenant General PS Mehta, a retired army officer, who is again a son of soil, but then he's had tremendous amount of tenure in Jammu and Kashmir in the insurgency areas, and he carries a lot of experience, actual hands-on experience in fighting with the terrorists. And a word about him, which he'll be telling in detail about himself, but I will tell you, he is also one of the victims of this entire gamut. At the so-called genocide of Pandits we talk about, it was also few minority Sikhs in the valley, of which he is one. And I take pride in being his friend, because his father belongs to the regiment which I belong to, that is 45 Regiment. And then we have Dr. Virendra Gupta. He is an academician par excellence, and he's been into Jammu and Kashmir affairs for last more than 40 years. All his life he's been here, and he's been in the Jammu University, head of the department, and in various other capacities. He served the area very well. He's been in advisory role to the government many times, and there are forums like IIPA or Public Opinion Forum, such like local think tanks in Jammu, of which he is a very, very important constituent of. So these are the 4 speakers, and finally we request Ambassador Partha Sarthi to give us his views about the whole thing. And now I will also introduce you to a few of our guests from abroad. We have Dr. Amjad Ayub Mishra, who will be joining us, Mirza, who's a human rights activist from Mirpur and DOJK, and now in exile in UK. He will soon be joining us. I think he also has some problems of connectivity problems, so he'll be joining in. And Mr. Virendra Sharma, who's an MP in UK, is already with us. A warm welcome to you, sir. Then I'm also expecting Ms. Lakshmi Kaul. She is an advisor of Bob Blackman, again an MP in UK, who's pro-India. And she also told me, just give me a phone, and she'll be liking very soon. Then we have Lalit Sharma, president of International Dogra Society. Manu Khajuria, she is also running a similar Dogra organization in UK. Then we have Simone from Switzerland, Vania from Portugal, Boyd from Canada, Tabindu from New York, Virti Kha from New Zealand, and of course, the final foreign guest of mine, my life, my friend, philosopher, guide, and everything for me is my daughter Kanika, who is the third.
I would now like to come across Lieutenant General PS Mehta, sir. Sir, what do you think about, according to you, are the implications, and why the people in Kashmir are not yet satisfied? And what do you think on the control part of it, that how the situation after the abrogation has been controlled by the leadership? Sir, over to you. You can unmute and speak, sir. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be on this panel with so august speakers and eminent speakers, intellectuals. What I want to say is, firstly, what Professor JANDAIL just narrated is very clear that all that did not happen for last 70 years. And the reason was, I'm being very blunt, and I will be blunt, because that is the reality. The reason is Delhi was sleeping. Delhi governments were interested in their own politics. They were not looking at Kashmir. Kashmir or Jammu and Kashmir were only a facet of crisis management. Whenever there was a crisis, it was managed through politics, through diplomacy, through security forces. And thereafter, once it was leveled out, everything went back to Delhi and the focus from Jammu and Kashmir shifted. So naturally, today, after 72 years plus, a very strong government had the gumption to take this drastic and a very important step, which we all know is called as a political masterstroke. This was delivered with great finish from Delhi under our present Honorable Prime Minister. This action, now I will talk about the implications, what has happened post reorganization of the states into union territories, as also abrogation of the articles. I will not delve into constitutional issues, which have already been covered by Professor. Firstly, I'd like to mention that the abrogation sent a very strong tremor globally. It went all across the world, the United Nations General Headquarters, to Pakistan, to regional countries, and to the other continents. It was very evident that there a very strong government in India has finally taken a step. To my listeners, to the other students who are listening to us, I would like to mention here that the war between India and Pakistan, which was started in 1947, is still going on. We are sitting of line of control, facing each other in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation. And that is the reason we have abrogations of ceasefire every now and then, almost every day. Not only on the line of control, Pakistan is spilling them onto the area between Chenab and right up to Lakhanpur. That area is called as international border, but Pakistan refers to it as working boundary, trying to integrate that area also as a disputed area. Now, the messages which went out globally were very strong. And the best part is a large number of global powers stood with India on this political decision. Large number of countries told Pakistan directly and indirectly that whatever support you're looking at, it is an internal affair of India and you've got nothing to do with it. That was the biggest implication to my mind, which was political or diplomatic or I would say socio-political also. It was like a lightning struck. Now I'll cover the three distinct regions, Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir. Now Kashmir was shaken up. They could not believe it. But there were some indicators which the Kashmir population had got prior to 5th August 2019 when it was officially declared. The indications were there was a large influx of Central Armed Police Forces. Nearly 40,000 additional troops were inducted. There were induction of more army units, Indian Army units into the area. They were readjusted, I would say. Those indications were coming up to the local population that something is going to happen. There was fear that two actions could take place. One action could be an all-out operations in Kashmir division against the militants, the OGWs, the Hurriyats, the Jamaitis, which did take place later on. They thought it is going to be something like akin to what happened in Punjab during 1989, 84, 85. And the second implication they've had that probably India is going to step across the line of control and go into POK on the lines of Balakot or the surgical strikes and all that we did. So these were the impressions which we formed and gathered in the mind on the psychology of Kashmiri people. Whereas Jammu and Ladakhis were sitting pretty, they were waiting for the jubilation. Now to cut it out, Jammu had a mixed feeling. Even today, Jammu has a mixed feeling. There are a large number of Jammuites who want the status of the Jammu and Kashmir state to be given back. They say that it's an iconic state of Maharaja Hari Singh and Maharaja Gulab Singh. It is our state. It's a Dogra state. It should come back. While on the other hand, there are jubilation that the 370 is gone. And the state has been integrated with the country as any other state of the country. So there's a mixed feeling. Why should they ask? Now there is another thing I'm hearing in Jammu. Jammu wants to become a separate union territory. It does not want to become a JKUT. It wants to become Jammu Union Territory, which was the erstwhile formula of RSS called the trifurcation of the state. They think that they will benefit by this kind of a status. So on one hand, you want a union territory status. On the other hand, you want the state to get back. There's a mixed response. And this is due to the fact that there is very little political interest in Jammu division. I said I'll be very blunt. Jammu politically lacks leaders. Unfortunately, there have been no leaders who have come forward in Jammu division and fought for this for the last 70 years. We've been having deputy chief minister, that is understandable. Coming to Ladakh, it was a rebirth for Ladakh. There were jubilations. I will not cover what all has happened, but suffice to say, the Ladakh deserved to be given the union territory status because they were the weakest of the siblings out of the 3 children that we had, rather 5, 2 across in POK. Now they have got benefit. Now they have seen rising. I was in Leh about 20 days back. I went there particularly to have a look at what's happening on ground. People are very happy. They're progressing. Tourism will come up. Their lives will be made. And the problem that they were facing with Kashmiri businessmen and Kashmiri taxi people who are coming and interfering in Ladakh region, all that is being resisted. And the Hill Development Council and now their own union territory status has given them a free hand. Now they can breathe very clearly in their own homeland. And I'm sure Ladakh will develop into one of the most important tourist sites amongst the world. Coming on to Pakistan. Pakistan, 5, 6 major implications have happened. Firstly, it shook Pakistan. The policy of Pakistan, that is the Kashmir policy, has been shattered. Pakistan's army, as we all know, is leading the country these days from the back window, backstage, holding all the reins of their political leaders. But actually, it is the Pakistani who rules the roost. A very simple example, I'm sure all of you know that the chief of Pakistan Army is General Qamar Bajwa. But none of you, or maybe 1% would know who's the chief of Pakistan Air Force or Pakistan Navy. A lot of people don't know the name. Most of them don't know. And that is the reason, that's a clean indication that Pakistani Army chief name is visible and known. He's the most powerful man across the border in the LC. Pakistan's policy towards Kashmir has been shattered. They have been exposed to the world, including their ISI. Kashmir is the oxygen for Pakistan Army to survive. If there is no Kashmir issue, they will not survive and they will be called for democracy within Pakistan state. The simple reason why Pakistan needs to suppress their politicians and justify their existence as the elite in Pakistan is based on the Kashmir issue. The second implication was that the bedrock of call for Azadi, which they had brainwashed the radicals and Jamaitis and Hurriyats in Jammu and Kashmir, has also been shaken and totally shattered. हम क्या चाहते हैं आजादी और finally मिल गया टूटा हुआ state. They became a union territory. Their bedrock has been removed. It was a great move, a master stroke. It's exposed ISI, an army of Pakistan militarily, politically, as also in front of the global community and the United Nations General Assembly. All right, now not more about Pakistan. Now let me come to what has happened socio-politically over the last 1 year after the abrogation and reorganization. Just a line on hereditary, kind of a statement and the historic statement that it was in 1927 there was the birth of the genesis of the Article 370. And thanks to Kashmiri Pandit community who was ruling the roost in Jammu and Kashmir, they were the people who brought up a subject called Kashmir for the Kashmiris and a hereditary state subject formula came up. Whoever was hereditary, having lineages there were to be given the state subject kind of a status. And with that, who benefited? Kashmiri Pandits benefited maximum. Ladies and gentlemen, one fact must be very well known to us. Kashmiri Pandits were educated, and they were the elite of of Jammu and Kashmir. They were always studying. They were always coming first and number one in all the competitive examinations. And as a result of that, 90 to 95% of seats in government jobs were with the Kashmiri Pandits. Kashmiri Sikhs, like me, went to services. Some became doctors and engineers. Large number were truckers in transport business, and some had the farms and orchards or agriculture business kind of thing. Now coming to Dogras, I will not take Dogras. I'll talk about them later. I'll take Kashmiri Muslims. Now Kashmiri Muslim was the most illiterate out of the three in the Kashmir division. They had large families, big brood. They were poor people, did not have land holdings, and all that was happening. And that is why they were lacking behind. They got all the menial jobs that were there in Kashmir Valley went to the Muslim. Now that was their aspirations. That was the aspiration. That was the call for Azadi. They wanted Azadi, and they did it by one simple formula. Drive out the people who hold the maximum of strength. And that was Kashmiri Pandit community. Very simple masterstroke. 4 to 5 lakhs Kashmiri people were moved out, Kashmiri Pandits were moved out of Jammu and Kashmir from their own homeland. They become migrants in a country. That was a strategic step they had taken. There is a mixed feeling about return of Pandits to Valley today. Some of them think, the Kashmiri Muslims think, that Kashmiri Pandits will take revenge of this. Some want them back. They say they must come back. They have actually been harmed. They understand, especially a large amount of youth understand that wrong has been done to the Kashmiri Pandit community. As far as Jammu is concerned, the Dogra community, gentlemen, I'll be very blunt to say that Jammu has been sleeping for last 70 years and is even sleeping today. It is actually sleeping. There is no unity. There is no communal harmony. The communities in Jammu, Sikhs, Rajputs, Dogras, everybody are not united. And that is the reason there's a very big indication that there is no major one political party in Jammu. Why can't we have one major political party like National Conference or PDP, which are valley-based? Why is there no political party, a large political party in Jammu division? And that is the reason. And I'm quite sure they will keep pulling each other down like crab versus crab, and a party will not emerge. You can have Ekjut party or Sainik Samaj party or this party or UDA. These are all small things. They have no political backing. They have no financial backing. It will take large number of time, a long time for them to emerge as a major political party. I only request for Jammuites to wake up and form a united, big, massive party so that, and have some unity so that you can challenge NC and PDP or whoever the other parties that are coming up there in Srinagar. Now, what is happening today? Over the last 1 year, Professor JANDAIL has mentioned all the constitutional amendments, all the governance points at the block, panchayats and the DDC level elections coming up now. I will not cover all that. That is understood. That is part of governance. And it is going on very well. To my mind, I think there should be no hurry to hold elections. Where is the hurry? Tomorrow, only yesterday we abrogated. Today, some of them want the J&K state to be recurved, go back, roll back and make it back a state. You have union territory, you've got the governors and lieutenant governors, you've got funds coming for 3 distinct areas. So you can do very well. So try and do the development. And DDC is an indication that the grassroots level now will be audited. There'll be accountability. There'll be less corruption. There'll be more people who will come up. The chairman of DDC will be equated and the deputy commissioner will report to him, if I'm not wrong in assessing that. If that happens, it'll pave way for excellent governance at ground level, which has been lacking. Roshni Act, you can imagine, thousands and thousands of hectares have been taken away by the previous government. How has this happened? Why is Jammu sleeping? All of us know that Jammu is being rounded up or encircled by Muslim, sorry for being blunt again, by Muslim settlements. Why was Jammu sleeping? Why did it happen? What was the deputy CM doing there? Why didn't he wake up? Why the police didn't wake up? Why didn't the people at block and division and village sarpanches, why didn't they wake up? Why didn't they wake up this issue? Because they were sleeping. It's, it's an attitude. They have to change their attitude. There are a large number of development projects, and my observation is again very clear. Jammu is being not given the adequate focus. Again, it is probably Delhi's central policy to appease the Kashmiri Muslims and the valley. Everything is happening in valley, from tunnels to bridges to transit accommodations to water supply schemes, megawatt, 12 megawatt hydroelectric plants. There is there are almost nearly 1 lakh crore money given to valley alone. In Jammu, nothing's happening. Jammu people are crying. Why isn't the government looking, or why isn't the Lieutenant Governor focusing toward Jammu also? Jammu should raise a hue and cry. Look at Jammu division, it's suffering. Kashmiri Pandits are yearning to return. I have been representing this community for last 6-7 years. I've been talking on behalf of them, supporting them. Unfortunately, I don't think so at the right time for Kashmiri Pandit community to return back. Their formula of giving them a cantonment like a secure area. In fact, I have suggested 3 areas. Since I've served there, I know that area, which has water, which has agricultural land, which will have minimum displacement of Kashmiri Muslims or other people, which is available, which can be given to them as a kind of cantonment guarded. But will they come and live in a fort? Don't they have to go out with their family? Don't have to go out to work, to earn their pay? They can't mix around? I don't think it's a good formula. I'll give you the example straight away. Toshe Maidan, which was an army firing range, taken up, is a massive area, can be given to Pandit community. But will they live there? Who's going to guard them? How will they move out? Will they have the freedom of movement? So all that thing needs to be thought of very, very deliberately. As regards my community, Sikhs, unfortunately, in Jammu and Kashmir, I don't know for what reason, Sikhs have never been given for the last 1 year. They have no right. They have no special quota, nothing, not even their language has been recognized. I don't know why Delhi doing this. Why are they not being given their due? They are also minority. They don't even have a minority status. They are the minuscule minority of all the communities staying there. The Gujjar Bakarwal's strength today is approximately 24 lakhs, whereas the Sikhs are not more than 3 to 4 lakh complete J&K put together. So we need to look at all these. And now, last point I will tell you about what is happening in the psychology of Kashmiri Awam in Valley especially. As we all know, I'll just take 2-3 more minutes. Kashmiri Muslim, I have studied them in great detail. Are very, very cunning and smart and intellectual people. They're very intelligent. They're very sharp. They are taking complete advantage of all the benefit schemes that are being announced by the central government in the present context. They are coming, their students are going over to 3 to 4 places in India. I've seen Kashmiri women, girls, boys, not only in Delhi, Jaipur, in Chandigarh. They're moving out, they're studying, they're going for MBA, NEET, IAS, MBBS, IIT. All schemes are welcome. But do you know what they say? They say, this is under Hindu Nizam, under the Hindu administration. There are 2 types of Indias in their psychology. One is Muslim India and other is Hindu India under the RSS. This is what the people talk there and this is how they think. What is Muslim India? Muslim India is opportunity. Go to Lucknow, go to Ajmer Sharif. Even the Shias are looking at the kind of, the community leanings in those areas. So this is how the youth has been psyched, unfortunately, and to de-radicalize them, to take these, correct the psychology will take ages. But only good part what is happening is, whoever is moving out for studies pan-India, I'm not talking of global, as also working in these special cities which they feel are secure here, it's a very good sign. They're learning. And what's happening on ground in Kashmir, I heard one of my friends who had gone to Valley some time back, a Kashmiri Pandit, he has written a lovely article in which he says, people have lost faith in the old politicians of NC and PDP because of their corruption and because of failing them. They gave them a wrong story of Azadi and stole away their state and made them into a union territory, which is now under India. Their flag has been removed, their constitution is gone, the assembly has been dissolved. But on the other hand, there is a psychological divide in Kashmiri Muslim. One who live in downtown Kashmir, the old Kashmir, Srinagar township. And the others who are elite and live in good areas like Rajbagh, Shivpura, Dal Lake, Johar Nagar, and so on and so forth. They are high societies. There are one more level up is the elite and the cream who are the dynastic families in politics, Abdullahs and Muftis and what have you. They've got cars, they've got money. The women are driving cars and two-wheelers. They are in jeans, they're in plazos, jackets. The spas and beauty parlors are doing excellent business. Social media are doing business. The hijab and burqa are not compulsory any longer. So malls, consumer stores, branded clothes, all is coming up. Modern restaurants, a modernity has been set in. I was surprised to go and see in Kashmir that their dialect, Sikhs, they could not pronounce six. Today they speak excellent English. They speak very good English. Their accent is gone. Their old Kashmiri accent is gone. They've adopted modern accent, modern clothes, jacket. You don't see salwar kameez and dirty clothes. They're well dressed. They're beautifully dressed, boys, girls, and men. Social policing is diminished in Kashmir. Terror threat is reduced. Books, column writing, views, all is coming up. They're good speakers. They participate in webinars, in Zooms. The print media, electronic, social media is very well in Kashmir. Professional courses are being taken in large numbers, and they're coming in even for IAS. They're topping. Large number have topped. So there is no dearth of credentials and intellect in Kashmir. Only thing was they were being put in a cauldron and the lid closed from top and driven by Islamic and radicalized views from thanks to Pakistan and ISI. I think the people are learning. It will take few years. This mixed feeling will go. We don't want to participate, but now in DDC elections, they are jumping to participate because the old party do not want to lose the ground. They still do not want, and they want to follow the British formula, divide and rule. The downtown, the Shikarawalas, the poor people in villages. Incidentally, one of my assessments says through the people who I interact in Valley that today there are about 15 to 20% of pro-Pakistan mind in Kashmir, and 15 to 20% are pro-India, who have joined BJP and things like that, who are nationalists, who speak openly about India. And there are 60 to 70% who are neutral in their stance. And those are the 60 to 70% neutral who are fence sitters, whose mind and psychology has been taken away. And like I said, Kashmiri is very intelligent. They are looking for indications from Delhi. And they openly say, if Delhi helps them, holds their hand, give them opportunities, they will come the Delhi way. And this is the time to give them opportunity, hold the hand of the 60 to 75% who are neutral fence sitters, to show them light. The light that has now been seen at the end of the tunnel after this abrogation. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, one point. What is the final solution ahead? We all know it cannot happen. We cannot resolve this issue overnight or in the next 2 years, 5 years. What comes to my mind is, firstly, there should be no hurry to hold election. Let election not be there for next 10 years. Why do you want party? Why do you want NC and PDP and, Apani party and this party and that party come back and start the same theme all over again? Why do you want to do that? Governance is taking place. It's a damn good formula. So no elections for next 5 to 10 years. Let governors carry on under lieutenant governors, and there will be marked improvement in infrastructure development in all the 3 divisions or in the 2 union territories. Politico-diplomatic measure to resolve Kashmir issue. I'm not a politician nor am I a diplomat, but I can think and tell. I see Ambassador Partha is smiling. Sir, all I can say is talks won't help. Talks with Pakistan will not help. You're a master on that. That is why the game being played by Farooq Abdullah time and again. Speak to Pakistan. Nobody asked him, okay, we will speak. Give us the agenda points. Let's see what he says. Why isn't he being asked? Give me agenda points. What do you want us to speak to Pakistan on? Which nobody is asked. I'm quite surprised. There's some big journalists in the country. Why don't they ask him? Okay, we'll speak to Pakistan. Give us the point. Pak Army, I told you, will never allow Kashmir issue to go. China support is a gimmick. They all know. Imagine Mr. Farooq Abdullah made a statement that China will come and give them Azadi. I mean, what nonsense is this? Plebiscite. A word about plebiscite. I have done a lot of research over the last 10 years. I've been working on Kashmir issue. I've done a thesis, a dissertation. I am quite sure on demographic pattern which exists today. If we hold a plebiscite, hypothetically, we will win. There'll be pro-India votes rather than pro-Pakistani votes. That's why my mind says. And last formula under this politico-diplomatic kind of a solution was Musharraf-Manmohan formula, convert LC to IB. But Pakistan will not allow this to happen. Pak Army will not allow to happen for the obvious reason. Last point which I want to mention is there a solution as per our Honorable Raksha Mantri's statement that now the narrative will be POJK. We will not talk about Kashmir. We'll retake POK or POJK. Is that possible militarily? It is. I have spent 40 years in Indian Army. I've been a corps commander and I know what I'm talking. We've had a lot of internal discussions and war gamings. If Parakram, Vijay, Galwan now and all, we are holding the reins of our forces back. One surgical strike, there were jubilations in the country. One Balakot, we were jubilations in. Nothing happened. We can go in. We are very strong. We can take it. There are plans in place. There is possibility. I'm just making this sound, this noise, because I want Delhi to hear there is a possibility of capturing POK. There is no worry. And even if we draw the red line under the nuclear overhang, my mind is very clear. I've been serving for the last 40 years into it. Nuclear overhang doesn't, these are diplomatic weapons. Nobody can use them. Nobody will allow them to be used. These are political weapons for deterrence and nothing else. And we should not get shaken by Pakistan's, you cross the border and I'll nuke you. All military nonsense. So we can control the population of Gilgit and Baltistan because they are with us. And as far as Bimbar, Mirpur and Muzaffarabad, if we go in and capture these areas, control these populations is very simple. We will throw them back from the area between line of control and original Red Cliff line. When they go across the Red Cliff line, they are in Pakistan, which was decided in 1947. Thank you very much.